I personally quit my glorious profession of being a medical doctor for the unpredictable path of being a businessman. Why? Because business people become rich. In fact, if you look at all the richest people in the world, they have literally become rich through doing business. Very few, or if any of them, has actually become rich through a job or through being employed. Look at people like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, all the top people, they run businesses. However, businesses do come with their problems, and one of the biggest problems with running a business is that the business can fail and you can be left with completely nothing. You can be left in proper trouble, empty-handed. But there are actually businesses that have a very low probability of failing, and in today's video, that's what I'm going to be sharing with you. If you're outside there and you're starting a business, you actually want to start a business that has a low likelihood that you're going to be failing. That increases your chances of success and it decreases the fear that you do have. I personally actually decided to invest into one of those businesses that have a very low failure rate, and I'll tell you that I haven't regretted. Currently, my business has more than 10 times from the time that I started about 6 years ago, and I'm still going strong. So stick around right through to the very end to find out the 7 businesses that you can do that almost never fail. Number 1 is childcare services. Now, increasingly, the world is reaching this point where we're almost having a population collapse. So for most parts of the world, besides Africa and some parts of Asia, for the rest of the world, people are having an average of less than 2 children. What that means is that if 2 people are coming together and having less than 2 children, that means the population is going to come down. Now, what that means is that for a lot of these people, when they do choose to have a baby, that baby is what we call a precious baby. They don't allow anything to happen to them. So they'll do everything to take care of the baby. But also on the other side of the coin, there's very high demand professionally. So if I'm working for someone, or if you're working for someone, they expect you to be at work at this time, to leave work at this time. There's a lot of traffic jam and all these things. What that means is that it's very difficult for people to take care of their children. They can't be physically present, fully present to look after their children. And what that means is that a lot of people are having to leave their children in the hands of other people. And that's where childcare comes in. So, if you're starting a childcare business and you're just doing it well, you're avoiding to make mistakes, the likelihood that it's going to succeed is very, very high, because everyone who produces a child usually has a job. They have other things to do, and they're going to need someone to take care of that child. In the past, there were nannies, there were all these kinds of people. But currently, there's not so many nannies because, again, there's not so many people around that can do all that kind of work. So if you can start a childcare business, maybe it's a school, a little tiny school. If you're someone who is passionate and loves looking after children, it is a business that you should actually consider, because it has a very high likelihood of success, in fact a very low likelihood of failure, and it's just one of those things that's not going away. Number 2 is what I personally ventured into, and that's agriculture. Literally, agriculture is the backbone of every population. If you can just look around, everyone needs food. Everyone has always needed food. Everyone is going to need food in the future, and all that comes from the agriculture business. I personally decided to go into the agriculture business, and for me it was the egg production business. So literally you can call it the food business. Now, I'm not talking about this food selling business. The food selling business, which is actually the restaurant business, is actually one of the worst. You don't want to think about it, you don't want to consider it, because it has a very, very high failure rate. But when it does come to the food production side, the likelihood that you're going to succeed is very, very high. So that's animal production or crop production. Now, the thing with agriculture is that, number 1, it's quite volatile. It carries its risks and it's very volatile. So it swings a lot, between having high profit and having very low profit and all those things. And then number 2, a lot of times it's very capital intensive, because the kinds of things that you do require to start an agriculture business are, you need land, you need machinery, equipment, animals, and things like that. But with all that, it has a very low likelihood of failure, because the demand for the products, which is the food, will always be existent. So it is another thing that you should personally consider. I personally, when I was starting out, I was thinking to myself, I need to start this kind of business, because, for example, I do produce eggs each and every day, and I sell them on the market, and they're consumable. They're not like, video games. So like I'm going to be producing video games or selling video games where someone buys it once and they're going to use it for months and years and those kinds of things. For eggs, I produce these eggs, and every day or every 2 days or every 3 days, people are coming back, pick these eggs from me. So it simply means that it's something that I can consistently produce and sell on the market, and I'm certain that it's not going to fail. So food business is a great business. Like I've said, sometimes the profit margins are lower, but generally the likelihood that the business is going to fail is almost 0. Number 3 is transport business. So yeah, transport business is also one of those things that, just don't fail, because we all need transport. So if you're sick, for example, and you need to be rushed to hospital, they're probably going to send an ambulance or an aeroplane, something like that. If you're considering starting a business, probably you want to start a farming business, you now have discovered that farming businesses rarely fail. You want to start a farming business, you're probably going to need some form of machinery or equipment. You're going to order for it, maybe from the Netherlands, maybe from China. It's going to be transported using some form of ship. If you order for something and you're in another state, in another country, I mean, it's going to be transported maybe using FedEx, maybe, whatever, maybe on a plane. And it's also the reason as to why the trucking business is thriving. So truckers are thriving because all these things need to be delivered, and these days with one day shipment, someone orders for something, they want it today, they don't want it tomorrow, they want it now. With all this coming up, it simply means that the need and the requirement for things to be delivered to their required destination just becomes deeper and deeper with each and every passing day. So transport business is just one of those things that just won't fail. It won't fail. Now, of course, it also does have its challenges. It requires quite an amount of investment, especially if you're going to be buying the vehicles yourself. So maybe that's a ship, maybe that's a truck, maybe that's an aeroplane. I mean, some of them are even too expensive to even consider starting, but it's quite expensive. You're going to need, these things. Number two, it carries a lot of risk, quite an amount of risk. So whilst just like agriculture, in a lot of circumstances, transport business is not very profitable. So it's not like tech, for example. In tech, you can start out something and then after that, you're going to get crazy profits, 70, 80, 90% profit. When it does come to transport, you'll be dealing with profits sometimes of 5%, 10%, sometimes just breaking even. I mean, if you do well, you do 20%. So you're not going to get like super rich doing transport business, but the one thing you're going to be certain is that the business is not going to fail as long as you're handling and managing it well. Number four is real estate. Now, did you know that real estate has made more wealth in the world than all other businesses put together? I know that's really crazy considering how many other types of businesses have been present or are present in the world. Now, of course, that might not last so much, especially with all this technology coming up, because looking right now, almost all the richest people in the world are some form of tech people. So it's either someone owns Amazon, someone owns X, someone owns Apple or iPhones, someone owns Facebook, software business, those kinds of things. So some form of tech business. Those are like the things that are making the craziest money right now. So it might not be so much longer that real estate remains the number one wealth creator in the world. The one thing though that we can't object to is that real estate actually does create a lot of wealth, and the likelihood that the business is going to fail is very, very low. So two things that can make you money when it does come to real estate business. You can either go into commercial housing or residential housing. Now, commercial housing generally is going to be the real estate that's going to give you more money, because number one, you're dealing with real estate in terms of the land itself. You're dealing with land that's of higher value. But number two, you're dealing with bigger structures, most likely, very tall buildings, bigger structures. So you're more likely going to be making more money over such buildings. Now, the beauty with real estate and the reason as to why it's really fail-proof is because, number one, it's one of those businesses where there is very little maintenance costs. So once you've set it up and you've built the structure, or you've built the home, you've built the shopping mall, whatever that you've decided to build, you're not going to spend so much money after that. You really have to be a very bad manager for you to fail at it. So unless like there's a population collapse in the area, or maybe there's a war or something that comes up, that's the thing that's really going to more likely cause the business to collapse. But in normal circumstances, the business is going to generate cash flow, so you're consistently going to generate cash flow without investing so much. And also the value of the real estate itself, that's the structure itself, is going to keep going up over time. And so with time, you're collecting money, so you have proper cash flow, but also the asset, which is either the land or the building themselves, are also increasing in value. So generally, the likelihood that you're going to fail with real estate is very low. So number five is laundromat. That's generally cloth cleaning business. With every year that passes by and as time passes by, people get busier. The world is moving in such an age that people just don't have time to do anything for themselves. People don't even have time to cook for themselves. So now, how about washing? Fortunately for the business people are going to need clean clothes every day, every time. And a lot of times, people just can't do that themselves. Starting a laundromat, a cleaning business, a cloth cleaning business, is actually one of those upsides. I'll tell you the honest truth. Personally, it's not like there's so many cleaning businesses in the communities or the places where I do live, but I'll tell you that almost all the cleaning businesses and the laundromats, that I saw many years ago are still existent right now. So what that means is that whilst it might probably not be like the most profitable kind of business, you might not make $1 million through it, the likelihood that it's going to close is also very low. Yeah, so in one way or another, they're going to bring in money. The business is going to keep running. It's going to run. It might not thrive in terms of being super profitable, but it's certainly going to be existent. It's going to be fail-proof. And then what that means is that if you're very good at understanding businesses, setting up businesses and managing businesses, then you can just open up multiple branches of the same business. You open up one laundromat here, another in another place, another in another place, and just like that, you've created scale, and then the business can actually become very profitable for you. Number 6 is personal training. So personal training in terms of fitness. With all the information that's moving around, people are starting to understand the value of their health much more. I personally recently was reading a post on the internet, I believe it was X. Someone posted and they were like, people who are in your 60s, what advice would you give to anyone who is in their 20s or 30s? And I read through that section, and the topmost advice, I can tell you that at least 60% of the people, that was their advice. Their advice was, watch what you eat and exercise. I was like, what? I mean, they're not talking about money, they're not talking about any other thing. They're telling you to watch what you eat and exercise, because much later on in life, the body is going to remind you that, hey, you're not eating well, you're not exercising. What that means is that people are becoming more conscious of their health levels, exercising and working out. And the beauty about personal training is that, number one, you don't require a location. Yeah, you don't really require a location. You can do or help someone out from their place. You can do it in a community park. You can rent out a particular place for you to do, your fitness training. Number two, you don't need to buy so many things. I mean, in the end, it's just about guidance and knowledge. This person doesn't know what they're doing, and you're trying to help them to understand what to do and how to do it. So again, it just requires a bit of guidance. So you don't require so much investment. It's not like transport business where you're going to have to buy a truck. Sometimes it could cost up to $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. No, this doesn't require so much. So it's one of those businesses, again, that don't fail. And also it's simply going to continue to be on the rise because of the continuous exposure of people and the importance of health to their bodies. Finally, healthcare. Yeah, and this leads directly from point number 6. You see, no one wants to die. That's the honest truth. Yeah, we all don't want to die. You don't want to die. I don't want to die. No one wants to die. Unfortunately, though, with each and every passing day, everything that we do just leads us to the grave. So what that means is that with every passing day, people usually eat more unhealthy food. With every passing day, I mean, there's a lot of people who are not exercising. There's so many things that we do wrong, yet we need to make sure that we keep in good health. Anyway, what that means is that a lot of times, or most of the times, a lot of people are going to end up in situations where they need to see a doctor, they need to go to a hospital, they need to have their health looked after. And what that means is that they're going to need some form of health care. So whether it's a pharmacy or a hospital or something like that, they're going to need it. So one of the best businesses you can actually start if you're in position 2 is actually health businesses. Healthcare businesses are actually quite expensive. Whether it's looking after children, whether it's looking after elderly people or normal people, the expenses are quite a lot because buying the equipment, whether it's just the beds that are required to work in a hospital, whether it's the X-ray machines, the ultrasounds, the CT scans, all those kinds of equipment, they require a lot of money. That's one thing that you're not going to run away from. And also they are very regulated because of the standards that you need to to ensure, because you're dealing with living people who are human. You don't want to kill them, you want to place them in the best hands. So they are very regulated, but in terms of absolute profit, they're actually quite profitable. So it's another kind of business that you should consider starting. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. That way you never miss out on an upload. Catch you very soon with another one. Lots of love. Bye-bye.